Hello and welcome to Conversations With. I'm your host, Leigh Toney, Executive Director of the Carrie P. Meek Entrepreneurial Education Center at Miami-Dade College. I'm happy to have as my guest today, Zak the Baker. Zak Stern is his given name, but his store and his mantra is Zak the Baker. And it's a very interesting story of melding your vocation and your life. So Zak, thank you so much for being with us on Conversations With today.
Thanks for having me.
So we don't run into too many true-to-life bakers anymore, and especially none who have gone about the business in the way that you have. So tell us about the earliest times or earliest notions you had that might have indicated to you that this is where you would end up.
I think I only realized that this is where I'm going to end up once I started doing it. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was apprenticing how to bake bread. I remember thinking to myself, there is no way I'm going to be doing this. They wake up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, they hardly sleep. And I thought, no, this is just something I want to learn because it's a great, life lesson. But I clearly remember thinking, no, this is not going to be a profession. But, once I came back home and I started doing it and I started to see the response and the success, I went for it. It just happened. It just kind of happened.
You're a native Miamian.
I am.
Good. And tell us about your pathway when you decided to leave home and kind of explore the world. Why did you take that approach and what did you learn?
Well, I left home first to go to school. Mm-hmm. So I went to school at Florida State University. Mm-hmm. And then I finished school and then I got into a program at Mercer in Atlanta to study pharmacy. And it was about, maybe 3 months in my first semester at pharmacy school. I had 3.5 more years to go that I realized, boy, this is not my path. And before I get myself into some serious debt, I need to make a decision, whether I stick with this or I get out now. And so I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew that this wasn't right for me. So I withdrew and I went on kind of a pilgrimage. And it wasn't so thought out and, I'm going to do this and this perfect pilgrimage and learning. No, it was kind of just, I had enough school, this is not for me right now. I want to go learn something different, learn a different way. I still really wanted to learn, learning. I was actually just at my peak of wanting to learn, but I wanted to kind of create the curriculum and I wanted to have a little more freedom and I wanted to learn something a little more substantial than just theory. Because I studied all these great sciences and mathematics and this and that, but I felt like I didn't know how to do anything. So I went to go learn how to do things, the basic things, how to be a man, just a basic man, mm-hmm. how to grow food and how to cook food and build a house and make clothes. Just I missed all the basics. I went right to organic chemistry, you know what I mean? But somewhere we skipped the basics. And so I went back to the basics.
And that seems to be a theme that's running through the company that you have created. Zak the Baker now is poised for some pretty big expansion, but how did you start the company? Where did you start the company?
I started in Miami, in the suburbs, in my buddy's dad's garage. In the beginning, he was very excited to have me, start up, and they were all so proud. But once it started getting bigger and bigger, boy, they were ready for me to get out of there.
Get out of my garage.
Get out, yeah, for sure. Because there was dough on all the door knobs, you know what I mean? And I had flour everywhere, and it was just bursting, the britches of his house. Anyway, but I was grateful, without him letting me do that, we would have never been able to start. I didn't have this giant purse to draw from and just, rent a place and do this and that. I was lucky to get in with the cottage industry law and have the garage and kind of slowly expand, although it was pretty quick. And then, I found a commercial commissary to rent out. And we grew even more, and now we're at the point where we've outgrown that commissary, and now we're ready for our own thing.
And where'd you learn to bake the bread?
The bread I learned through apprenticing, traveling. I would travel around from farm to farm, and I'd look for bakers, and I would ask them, "Hey, I'll give you all my work if you give me room and board, and maybe I can learn how to bake your bread." And if you look hard enough, you'll find that there's still traditional bakers out there. That need some help, that will teach you the old ways of the craft.
And tell us what that means. Break that down for our students who think, or people who buy the
Right.
bread off the shelf and it comes out nicely sliced, or we might get a specialty bread from the deli section. But what does
Right.
your style of baking bread involve?
Right. So when I say like old world bread, I mean basic, back to the basics. In the old world, they didn't have yeast packets. They had to get their own yeast. So this is what we call sourdough. So they had a culture. In the old world, they had wood-burning ovens where the crust would get really thick. In the old world, they wouldn't melt Asiago cheese and put like multigrain on it. You know what I mean? It was just basic, good bread. So it was flour, it was water, it was cultured, wild culture, and it was salt, and that's it. And that's what we do. We make a natural leaven bread, and it's pretty basic, and I think it's pretty good.
And you are mostly a wholesale business, so you're selling to other restaurants and food establishments around South Florida, yes?
Yeah, we're primarily wholesale, and that's the anchor of our business. So on a rainy day, no one comes in to buy their bread, we're still okay. Our bills are going to be paid, which is comforting. It's nice. I like that stability. It makes the business a lot stronger. However, we're now opening a retail storefront that will encompass both the wholesale production in the back and the retail in the front, because we want this to be present. We don't want to be hiding in Hialeah in a, the square foot price per square foot in Hialeah and Doral is very attractive.
Very friendly, right?
But to be like open and allow people to come in and see, hey, this is the real thing. We're gonna have no walls wide open. We have nothing to hide. Look, we are real bakers. We're shaping this with our real hands. And I think it's a pretty cool experience for people to be a part of.
Well, that's actually very exciting, Zach. And we're going to take our first break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about this new phase of Zak the Baker and the community that you're moving into, because very much it is a continuation of your philosophy and your approach to life. So I hope you'll stay with us, and we'll see you back on Conversations With in a few moments.
Cool programs for hot jobs. Let Miami-Dade College jumpstart your career. We offer bachelor's degrees in film and TV production, electronics engineering, supervision and management, and nursing. Or choose from 300 other programs. With our flexible course schedules, you can take classes during the day, evening, weekend, or online. For more info, visit MDC.edu or call 305-237-8888. Get the knowledge and training for today's in-demand jobs. Register now.
Welcome back to Conversations With. I'm your host, Leigh Toney from the Miami-Dade College Carrie Meek Entrepreneurial Center. And Zach Stern, better known as Zak the Baker, is my guest today. And in our first segment, Zach, you mentioned that you apprenticed all over the world and you learned from old world bakers. And I know that apprenticeships is important to your business model. Tell us how you work with apprentices and why that's so important to helping you bake the bread.
Well, why is it important? I think the main reason why it was so important was because in the beginning, there wasn't enough cash flow to hire employees. So I needed help, and I didn't have money to pay the help. But what do I have to give them in return? That's, I have to give them something for their service. And so I have knowledge, and I have a craft that I can give them, which is valuable, just as valuable as money. They can go out and turn, and they can get a job with that knowledge, with that craft, and make money from that. So really, to be honest, the most important thing was that I needed help, and the apprenticeship was a good way to do it. I learned how to bake the bread through apprenticeship, and it makes sense for me to in turn pass the knowledge on to those who are interested, to those who are willing, because it's not easy. You come, you work every day. It's physical, it's early in the morning. The only reason it would work is if you really want it, is if you really want to learn this craft. And so for those who really want it, they come and they get something out of it. And it's a win-win. It's a win for me because I need help, and it's a win for them. They learn a craft, an ancient one.
Tell us about your clients.
my clients.
Yeah, who are you selling the bread to?
So the wholesale is mostly medium to higher end restaurants, and we also wholesale to a lot of groceries and supermarkets that will resell it for us. We also do a lot of farmers markets where we're out in the community, and we sell to the suburbs, to the city, to all over Miami. We kind of want to be the village bakery for Miami. Miami really it's a sprawling city, but it's actually all these little villages that kind of encompass and create Miami. And so we want to be the village bakery for Miami.
And I know you're moving into a new space.
Sure.
Tell us about that. You're moving into Wynwood, which is a pretty exciting part of town to be in right now.
Sure.
Why was that the right place, you think, for what you wanted to do with the next phase of your business?
Well, we need to go somewhere. And I think business-wise, financially speaking, the right move would be to get a big old warehouse in Doral, or in Hialeah, and to expand comfortably. But to be honest, I wanted to come to a place where I come to work every day, and I wanted to be in an environment that I liked, And Wynwood is an emerging environment for Miami. It's a very cool area, and I think it has the potential to be a food renaissance, a food craftsmanship renaissance for Miami. You've got the coffee roaster there, you've got the beer maker there, you've got a butcher there. We're going to be the bakery there, and so we're creating all the components that make a village and a food culture. I think craftsmen, people that create food, and I want to be a part of that. I think it's great. So yes, we're paying more per square foot, which every businessman, whoever gave me advice, thought I was foolish, but I think it'll pay off. I think we're now going to be present in the community, and we're going to give people a place where they can come and be a part of the process, which is something I think our culture is really missing. I feel like we're really disconnected with the process. So now we'll offer a way for them to be a part of the process, and maybe this will be one processed food that won't be so bad.
At one point, bread making was like the new thing, like the trend. Everybody had a bread maker at home, but your model is going to invite, you won't, the process of making the bread won't be hidden away from the customer. They'll be able to see it, right? Well,
I mean, you have to ask the question, why do you think that we're hiding all these processes away? Because the processes that they're using are not very attractive. I think that we have a process, an ancient one. It's not something that we've created. It's just something that's been going on forever. But we use a traditional process that is something that I'm proud to show. Like, look, this is the real thing. You can come and see it. It's pretty cool. Instead of like putting a wall up for the back of the house and hiding all the things that you don't want the customer to see, No way, come in and see. We have nothing to hide. We're actually baking bread. This is not a fake, marketing scheme. This is the real thing.
So, and against the advice of others who say you can do this in a lot less expensive location than Wynwood, you're seeing for your business model, which is, it takes a lot of courage to go against the grain of that type of business advice that on paper makes a lot of sense. So obviously you're being driven by something else that's much larger than what we might be able to capture on a spreadsheet.
Ego.
Talk to us about that. Ego.
I'm driven. It's way larger than the spreadsheet, and it's something that it's not just ego, but sure. It's ego has something to do. I want to be out there. You know what I mean? And I mean that in a way where I want this to be shared, this experience. I think that what we're doing is something that Miami lacks, and which is like all of our attention is on the product and none of our attention is on marketing it. I've spent $0 on marketing, not $1.
That's incredible.
Sure, because I think the product is speaking for itself, and that anti-marketing, which is still a marketing strategy, of course, is working. And I think, and I'm glad for that, because we haven't had any money to spend on marketing. And the people are spinning the story for us. And I've had, very successful, very wise people that I respect, businessmen and women, give me advice and advise me that I'm making a mistake and they didn't understand. And not that I ignored them, but I just went ahead with what I thought was the right thing for me to do. And I really think it's going to prove to be the right move. And we'll only know, in a few years once this Wynwood bakery opens up. But I think we're going to be okay.
And you're a decidedly non-tech business in 2014.
Yeah, no, I want, for all the marketing and the tech set, I want to be the antithesis of that, just to create some balance. You know what I mean?
I do.
I think we've skipped way ahead to all this advanced way of thinking, and we're missing the basics. We're missing such basic things. Farmers and bread and cheese and milk, just like the basic things. We don't have them covered. So before we get all fancy, with these things, I think we're trying to just take care of one of the basics. So no, I like tradition. I love tradition. I think it's cool.
And I think you're building community. And when we come back, I want to close with that. Ways in which you mentioned the baker, the brewer, the butcher, in the way that business contributes to creating community is a very important thing. And you sound like you take that very seriously and operate with a lot of intentionality. And I think that's something we need to your earlier point, make notice of for our students in particular, that there's still opportunity to do these kinds of things. So stay with us. I'm enjoying my conversation with Zak the Baker. I hope you are. And we'll pick his brain and get some more notions out for where he sees his company going and opportunities for the future and lessons learned. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the other side.
Cool programs for hot jobs. Let Miami-Dade College jumpstart your career. We offer bachelor's degrees in physician assistant studies, biological sciences, education, and public safety management. Or choose from 300 other programs. With our flexible course schedules, you can take classes during the day, evening, weekend, or online. For more info, visit MDC.edu or call 305-237-8888. Get the knowledge and training for today's in-demand jobs. Register now.
Hello and welcome back to Conversations With. I'm here with my guest today, Zak the Baker. He's Zak Stern, and we're talking about how he found his way into the bread making business and his soon to open new bakery that will be open in Wynwood. But I want to leave with some messages that because you raise a lot of intriguing notions that I think are important for our students. You talked about being in the pharmacy school and then realizing that that wasn't the path that you wanted to take, and being okay with kind of charting your own path, but you certainly finished your undergraduate education before you did that. So there's a role that education plays, and then it kind of sets you up to be more the architect of your own life, right? Because that's essentially what you did. You kind of scripted your own apprenticeship and traveled and built a craft, and then now are using that to build a business. So it takes a lot of confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I have plenty of luckily I had good parents who took care of me, and I have plenty of confidence, and I have like the great American attitude of I can do whatever I want. So yeah, I have confidence, and I feel like I can do whatever I want. It might be a struggle, and this has certainly been a struggle doing all this on my own, but hey, we're doing it.
We're trying to build in an entrepreneurial culture, or to expand the entrepreneurial culture of the college, and kind of looking back at your own educational experience and the way you're living your life and building a business right now. What would you say are some of the things that we should think about as we try to support students to be more entrepreneurial? What have you learned? What do you think we can do to encourage students to be more entrepreneurial?
Well, I think the main thing I would stress is provide something to the community that they need. Not something that's novel or sexy or this or that, but if you provide something that we need, I have a feeling that it's going to help you be more successful. For instance, there are trends that come and go, and we get very excited about them, and there's a lot of press about them, but they come and they go. They're not stable. There are things that we as communities, as people, that we need now, have always needed, and will continue to always need. And if you focus on one of those needs and you do it really well, I have a feeling it'll make your entrepreneurship, your business creation, a lot easier, because you're filling a need. I don't want to bring up examples, to offend anyone of what's needed and what's not needed, but I think it's obvious what's needed. We need homes, and we need food, and we need clothing. You know what I mean? And for food, we don't need all foods. We need farmers. We need someone to grow the food for us. And we need someone to make the cheese, the basic, to milk the goats. These are basic things I think we need, and they will always succeed, I think, because we need them.
And so Wynwood is a very trendy neighborhood, growing, dynamic, artistic. It's also a working class community, strong Hispanic traditions and working class folks. How do you see, you're moving in this to take advantage of all of those dynamics. How do you see what's happening in Wynwood merging with the culture that has been Wynwood for so long?
Well, I don't think there's any merge. I think it's more of a hostile takeover. I think it's what happens in big cities of gentrification. They go into a neighborhood that is affordable and they bought up all the warehouses and turned it into art galleries, and now you have a culture of medium to higher end people attracted to it, and pushes out the existing neighborhood further to the fringe. And I think we've seen it all over Miami and in many different neighborhoods, and I think this is just another example of it. And I say it matter-of-factly because I think it's pretty much what's going on. Wynwood was never like this when I grew up. It's been gentrified, and now they sell expensive artisan bread and expensive coffees to people who can afford it. Am I defending it? Not exactly, but this is what's going on. We're glorifying these warehouse buildings, basically, and now the rent has quadrupled probably in 10 years. The only thing that I can hope is that it stays independent and that it doesn't become a big corporate mess like everything else in Miami does. I hope it takes at least 5-10 years before Chili's moves in and the Cheesecake Factory, gets themselves a lease to give us a good 10 years of enjoyment in Wynwood.
Yeah, and we still see areas that are managing to hang on to the authenticity. I mean, there's still elements of that in Little Haiti, Little Havana, so there's still places
Sure.
where I could even see a company like yours still melding very nicely with, a Cuban bakery or a cafecito shop that's been there, or a Little Haiti bakery, because those are very popular in the Haitian community.
Yeah.
So to your point, there's still folks who are still holding on to that, and I think that's why I asked that question, because I see elements of your company in particular that I think do offer a glimpse of how the new can meld and support.
I hope we can. I hope we don't completely just push out whatever culture was there and introduce, metropolitan hip culture, that we've imported from Brooklyn or from the Mission District of San Francisco. I hope we can retain what is truly Miami and keep those cafecitos and the 75% coladas, but I'm not very optimistic. Just by looking at the trends of what we've done in the past with Lincoln Road and Coconut Grove and some of the other places that were once hip and cool and edgy.
So, on that note, leave us with your one bit of advice that you would give to other young people. We have 175,000 students at Miami-Dade College and a viewing audience of possibly 500,000. Your company is the type that we're not reading about. So you have successfully done what you want to do, which was, show another approach that's based on more traditions. What do you offer to students, or what can you offer as we close to our students as a way to kind of meld the future with things that are good and important from our past?
I think based on what we do and what I find valuable and what I find quality and important is go out and learn a craft. Learn how to do something with your hands and then offer it to the people, create a business around that craft and offer it to the people. And I think then you have a real product. You know, if you try to pull a product out of the air that you think is going to be, you know, novel or great, that might work. It sometimes works. Works to some people. But carpenters, they always work. You know what I mean? And bread bakers, they always work, and we always need them. So I'd say go learn something with your hands, and then come back and build a business around it. And maybe you have to leave Miami to go do that. Maybe not. Maybe you can learn it in Miami. But craftsmanship, I think it's very cool.
It matters. Zach, I enjoyed meeting you.
You too.
Thanks for being on Conversations With. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thank you. I'm your host, Leigh Toney. Have a great day.